Good day everyone. I am Mr. Wilmer R. Lebria, PhD Educational Leadership and Management student. My pleasure to present to you my study. Research problem topic number 1. How are the leadership supervisory skills and the change management practices of the school head as the basis for a strategic plan model? Research questions. 1. What is the mean level of leadership supervisory skills to the change management practices of the school head? 2. Is there a significant relationship between leadership supervisory skills to the change management practices of school heads as the basis for the strategic plan model? Joshua, 2013, found that the teacher's instructional task performance can be enhanced with good qualification and experience in teaching, while the challenges that teachers face in the tasks of instructional inputs and curriculum delivery require effective capacity development during service, to improve the quality of teaching in secondary schools and the overall quality of the education system. From Thomas, 2012, disclosed that participation in the learning community helped pre-service teachers make stronger links between theory and practice, learn from each other, and become more reflective about problem-solving teaching approaches. Shahida, 2012, study suggested that teachers need to gain a wide repertoire of teaching to become better practitioners. Ghulam, 2012, revealed that the majority of the heads of institutions are not competent enough to guide their staff to perform the educational activities in the classroom. Penn, 2013, claimed that about the competencies of an English teacher. Students rated their spelling competency at the highest level and knowledge of genre the lowest. Shannon, 2014, studied an examination of professional goal plans and ethical leadership and found that the significant difference in the evidence of ethical standards between practicing administrators and non-administrators. The non-administrators are disadvantaged in terms of knowledge, dispositions, and performances outcomes of ethical leadership influencing successful student achievement. Iamba, 2012, said that the supervision of teaching practices perceived by student teachers was no significant difference about students-teachers' perception of supervisory practice and mode of supervision during teaching practice. Curtis, 2012, studied a case study, the issues high school principals encounter, and found that due to the compartmentalized nature of the high school, the principals in this study were stymied by their inability to set priorities based on work demands and lack of expertise across specialized content areas. Goza, 2013, studied the concerns of the training of supervisors of primary school teacher training institutions, NE2, in Niger with a particular focus on profiles, working conditions, and motivation, and found that the variables related to profile and bad working conditions determine motivation, which in turn affects classroom teaching behaviors. Vim, 2014, investigated the development of a reliable and valid observation instrument to measure the pedagogical and didactic behavior of teachers. The observation instrument consists of several aspects which have been proven to affect pupils' achievements in studies on school effectiveness. Enamel, 2015, studied the headmaster's managerial ability under school-based management and its relationship with school improvement. According to Kayak NES, 2012, professional development of teachers found that in teacher preparation programs greater emphasis needs to be placed on preparing teachers to be competent and efficient at managing today's classrooms with their diverse range of learners. Nasi, 2012, said that the supervisory process for language teachers and found that from quantitative and qualitative findings, most of the EFL teachers were found to be pessimistic, depicting the current supervision as a negative experience and supervisors as bureaucratic administrators. Munir, 2013, studied about analysis of the Professional Competency Enhancement Program of NIA on the performance of college teachers and found that 71% of teachers are satisfied with this program. 80% of teachers view that in-service teacher training is necessary for their professional growth. Holmenko, 2014. Professional competence is formed already on the stage of the professional preparation of a specialist. But if their teaching is in the Pedagogical Institute of Higher, it is necessary to examine as a process of forming a basis of professional competence, teaching in the system of the in-plant training, the process of development and deepening of professional competence. Willie, 2012. Disclosed perceptions and practices and found that a conception and practice of teacher professional development which combines both the raising of teacher academic qualifications and professional growth. This study is a significant contribution to the understanding of teacher professional development in developing countries' contexts where general pedagogical knowledge takes precedence over the teacher's knowledge of the subject matter. IC, 2015, concludes that a more robust form of teachers' CPD should see teachers play a much more active role than what is usually allowed in CPD activities that are dominated by the traditional training paradigm built on knowledge consumption. Roland, 2014, found that teacher morale was significantly correlated and that the leadership practice of enable others to act had the strongest positive correlation to teacher morale. Kaleem, 2013, said that teacher competencies and teaching practices for school effectiveness in workers' welfare model schools had indicated that though most of the teachers are aware of standards of teaching for school effectiveness, to some extent they are not implementing these standards in their classrooms. Sweetle, 2014, investigated of school leadership capacity in the Philippines and indicated no differences related to demographic and contextual factors among principals' beliefs about their capacity to support teachers and their beliefs about the effectiveness of instructional supervision, professional development, and classroom resources. According to Nanas, 2016, school leadership is often used interchangeably with school management and school administration. Although the three concepts overlap, it used with a difference in emphasis. Benes, 2014, quoted that those managers do things right, while leaders do the right thing. Glover, 2013, disclosed that leadership involves steering organizations by shaping other people's attitudes, motivations, and behaviors. Management is more closely associated with the maintenance of current operations. Dimmock, 2015, provided a distinction between school leadership, management, and administration while also recognizing that the responsibilities of school leaders often encompass all three: leadership, management and administration. Leadership is a broader concept where the authority to lead does not reside only in one person but can be distributed among different people within and beyond the school. Bush, 2013. According to Fullen, 2012, school leadership also plays a major role in education reform. Much has been written about top-down versus bottom-up strategies for school improvement, and there is widespread agreement that the two need to be combined and synchronized. Hopkins, 2012, mentioned that higher levels of the educational system can provide policy directions for schools. Their success often depends on the motivations and actions of leaders at the school level. Huber, 2013, claimed that successful implementation and institutionalization of reform requires leadership at the school level to promote adaptations of school processes and systems, as well as cultures, attitudes, and behaviors. Continuous dialogue and consultation between policymakers and those who lead schools at the front line are thus essential for successful large-scale reform. From Hargreaves, 2014, school leaders will increasingly need to lead out there beyond the school, as well as within it, to influence the environment that influences their work with students. In small towns and rural areas, school leaders have traditionally stood among the most important leaders in their communities. Stoll, 2013, school leaders play an important role in strengthening the ties between school personnel and the communities that surround them. According to the OECD, 2015, as countries move rapidly towards becoming knowledge societies with new demands for learning and new expectations of citizenship, strategic choices must be made not just to reform but to reinvent education systems so that the youth of today can meet the challenges of tomorrow. Coopers, 2012, disclosed that leadership is increasingly in charge of leading teachers to respond to uncertain futures and new challenges. The level of schooling has been found to influence the type of leadership practices required. Primary schools tend to be smaller and involve different leadership challenges than large secondary schools. Hugh, 2012. And Leithwood, 2015, said that school-level differences or contextual factors have important implications for their leadership practice. Heck, 2015, mentioned that principals in effective primary schools are more directly involved in instructional issues than principals in effective secondary schools. According to Southworth, 2012, failure to analyze school sector differences may lead to imprecise discussions and development of leadership. Research synthesis. School leadership has become a priority in education policy agendas internationally. It plays a key role in improving school outcomes by influencing the motivations and capacities of teachers, as well as the school climate and environment. Effective school leadership is essential to improve the efficiency and equity of schooling. As countries are seeking to adapt their education systems to the needs of contemporary society, expectations for schools and school leaders are changing. Many countries have moved towards decentralization, making schools more autonomous in their decision-making and holding them more accountable for results. At the same time, the requirement to improve overall student performance while serving more diverse student populations is putting schools under pressure to use more evidence-based teaching practices. My proposed title: Leadership, Supervisory Skills and the Change Management Practices of School Head, Basis for Strategic Plan Model. General objective: to assess the leadership, supervisory skills and the change management practices of the school head. And specific objectives: To identify the different leadership supervisory skills used by the school head. To determine the change management practices used by the school head. To distinguish the different leadership supervisory skills and practices used by the school head to create a strategic plan model.